So, if you didn't know, one of the topics for O Levels Art 2018 was broken and cracked. I decided to take this in many different directions, but the overarching theme was discrimination by society, more specifically, LGBT discrimination. And because this is Singapore, I had to be vague about it. I never mentioned the terms LGBT or gay or anything specific like that. But I was basically pushing the pride flag all over the damn place like the flaming bisexual that I am. As you can see, this is my introductory board, which is one of my least favorite boards, as it's the one with one of the most highest amount of difficult drawings that I ever had to do. But weirdly enough, it wasn't my self-portrait that was hard. It was the hand and the thread. Like, it was actually one of the last things that I drew before I handed it in. If you want to read my artist statement, you can just pause the video. But it's basically pretty obvious what I'm talking about. Okay, board number 2. This was actually my most favorite board and one of the most fun boards that I did. If you're going to do a topic like broken and cracked, what do you think of first? Well, glass, yes, but also eggs. And let me tell you, I'm kind of fucking obsessed with eggs. Because there's so much symbolism that you can do with it. Like, for example, the egg represents life, fertility, wombs. So to read out what the top part of the board says, it's a whole egg. And I wrote that none of us starts out inherently broken or flawed. Yet, as life goes on, we learn what is acceptable and what is not. Cracks start to form, until eventually we break down completely or lose a core part of our identity in order to conform. I'm really proud of how the eggs turned out. I think it's actually pretty realistic in terms of how the shading looks. I actually tried to color the egg using watercolor and just color pencil, but it turned out so shit. Oh, you have no idea how many eggs I had to toss away just cause they didn't look as realistic as an egg would. So eventually I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try paint? Why don't I just try acrylic paint? So that's what I did, and actually the first time I tried it, it turned out, sasuga. Okay, it wasn't like fucking a masterpiece, but it is so much better than the first dozen attempts that I tried to paint the egg. And if you look lower to the left, you can see this very angsty caption that I wrote was, I didn't ask to be born, not like this. Which is true, because if you are gay and you do live in a homophobic society, which is pretty much majority of the world, you don't ask to be born gay or trans or bi, you know? Nobody would ask to be born anything other than the straight default. I mean, for me, the topic of whether I would want to be born like this is complicated, because honestly, I do like being bisexual and I am proud of it, but it's just a fact of life that it's easier if you were born heterosexual. And a little bit more to the left is a BoJack Horseman quote. I think this board is pretty straightforward in terms of symbolism. For my personal definition of what eggs symbolize, it symbolizes the feeling of emptiness and hollowness. Hence why a person is referred to as a shell when we see them as being empty, depressed, or numb to the world. Here's a close-up. Unfortunately, a bit of dirt got onto the egg. Before I started any of the boards, this was one of the most central and first ideas I had, which was of me or a girl just swarming her arms around herself, and her face is carved out and replaced with the word empty. This is the third board. This is my second favorite board and definitely one of the most crowded and loaded ones with meaning and depth, if I do say so myself. Anyway, it's called Technical Difficulties. This is about QR codes, a bit of technology, a bit of, I guess, how we're sorted into different categories in society. The reason why I chose QR codes and barcodes is that they have this very iconic look to them and they're very immediate. The irony is that QR codes and barcodes, they're supposed to be unique to every item that they're stamped on, yet they're always associated with being stripped of your individuality. And if you can imagine a human that has or was born with like a QR code stamped upon them, it's kind of dehumanizing because that's something you only do for objects. For the left part of the board, I went a little bit ham, I was like a little bit fucking angry, I was using quotes that people may have said before, not to me specifically, but maybe to my friends, where you kind of get the feeling that, they're all about individuality and freedom and all of this shit, but they don't really believe in it. Like, speak up, but not too much. Be yourself, be unique, dare to be different. Perfect just the way you are. But, not if you're fucking gay, basically. Only if you fit into a set of preconceived notions of what it means to be human, right? You are an unwanted product. You don't register as being a part of society unless we can label and simplify you down to the most basic components. Despite everyone, I am large. I contain multitudes. You can only be recognized for your uniqueness if you can still be fit into a system. Oh, another thing, glitches. Glitches are a very important part of this whole project. So if you feel glitchy, you're inhuman, you're abnormal, disgusting, unnatural. Actually, abnormal is a word that my mom used to describe me when she found out I was bisexual. She said, that's abnormal. That you are normal, you're not attracted to girls. Don't be like them. But whatever. I guess we're better about it now. She doesn't talk about it. She just kind of ignores it because her mind is set on me marrying a guy in the future. I don't know, anything could happen. A guy, a girl, anything fucking goes, My third favorite board, called Connections. You can tell that I put all my best stuff first and that one after the other is a fucking banger. So this one is the most blatantly gay ass board. It's just rainbows, pink, bi flags everywhere. So the thesis is that when one link is cut off, another will be made. So what I mean by that is that even if you're cut off from the rest of society, at least you can find your own people that you connect with and that resonate with you and get where you're coming from because they also share the same struggle. For this one, I drew some of my friends, strangers, my brother's friends, which you can see in the top middle of the board. It was pretty fun, when I sent this picture of this board to my friend Ali, he was like fucking blown away and he was like, oh my god, that's me. And I was like, yeah, that's you. And then he also sent to his friend, which is now who's non-binary, but I didn't know they were before. I guess they didn't come to terms with it until now. Anyway, they were also like, the O-level markers, better give her a fucking A1. If not, I will riot. Something like that. Anyway, Sobs is a Singaporean band. Okay, so before I attended Pink Dot for the first time in my life, I did not know that Sobs, whose song Girl was one of my favorite songs ever because it's subtly gay. And Sapphic is actually Singaporean. And when they showed up to the free concert at Pink Dot, I was like, what? They're Asian and they're Singaporean? The fuck? So actually now the lead vocalist of Sobs is starting her own solo project. It's called Kayan. She's now making, how to say, PC music. There's another term for that kind of genre. I think it's called bubblegum something. But anyway, she's a revolutionary. She is, fucking amazing. I would die for her. So for me, hands is one of the most favorite things I like to draw, especially coloring them, because when you're painting flesh and you're painting hands, you can use so many different colors like green or blue that you normally wouldn't think to use as flesh colors. But it does make your work pop out, and it does make it look more realistic when you include those tones, because the human body carries such a wide and varied array of different skin tones and colors that it's, kind of beautiful. Okay, this one is called Symbols. It's the 5th board of my project. It's about butterflies. Yay! So one of the initial ideas that never came into fruition was drawing a glass display case full of butterflies. But honestly, that was way too difficult, and even drawing one butterfly was like really time taxing. And I can't just do it willy-nilly because my standards are fucking high. So the end result is just one butterfly, which I think was done pretty well. I knocked it out of the park. No, I knocked it in one day. I didn't knock it out of the park. What the fuck? That's so self-praising. I mean, I'm not a stranger to self-praising, but like, holy shit. Yeah, the butterfly could have been done better. But I think I captured the iridescence of the blue morpho butterfly. And as you can see to the right, it's scissoring because y'all know. Y'all know, if you know, you know. And I also thought the scissors looked a bit like butterflies. So, yeah. Why did I choose butterflies? Well, butterflies are symbols of fragile femininity and beauty. Butterflies represent the worst aspects of femininity to me. So they're also known best for their iridescent beauty, and second for their meager lifespans. Butterflies can also be put on display when they are dead. So they're valued most for their appearance and also when they are lifeless and dead. And scissors are a symbol for cutting off links and connections, but they're also gateways to what did I write there? Oh man, did I not finish that sentence? Oh, they're also gateways to new openings and connections. Hence why in my main board, a scissor can be seen cutting an opening. You'll see my main board later. It's pretty good. That's why I used it for my thumbnail. Anyway, you'll see more of the butterfly motif later on, especially in my main board. Like, I pay homage to this idea of the glass display case butterflies, but I only used it in one part of the main board, despite them having many uses. Oh, cool fact. Did you know that some species of butterflies feed on blood? Yeah, they don't just feed on animal blood, they could theoretically feed on human blood too, which is pretty cool and badass. Kinda wish that I took a closer picture of the butterfly, but never mind. And another one of my favorite boards, the artist reference. So I had a lot of fun. I didn't research a lot for this because I already have a cavalcade and mental list of artists that I love, the style of, the subject matter of. For example, Sachin Tang, Omocat, Miles Johnston. Yeah. So, not much to see here. You can read it if you want, but it's just mainly about how I took reference from their use of color and subject matter and motifs. Okay. Oh, this is one of the easiest pieces I've done, if you can believe that. It's also one of the more stunning art pieces I've done for this project. So, why the multiple faces? Well, the multiple faces represent the multiple faces that you put in front of society to shield or hide a part of your identity that they don't approve of. Yep. I love art where they take away part of the face or completely carve it out, because the face is such an important part of the body that, you know, when you want to say that something is a symbol or a logo of something, you say the face of it, like the face of a company. And if you take that away, you're left with something that is very uncomfortable and very, how to say, off-putting. And another closer look at another one of my pieces. Yep. Sachin Tang has been a favorite artist of mine for a very long time, like back when I was using DeviantArt pretty regularly. So this is the 7th board. It's color schemes. For this one, my teacher was so kind. She printed out 4 copies of my main artwork and so that I could color them in. For this one, I used watercolor, and that's how you get such a poppy effect. For the main one, the one in the slightly to the left middle, is an artwork that I fucking hated. It was so bad that I just had... You ever hate your work so much that you cut it out? Well, yeah, that's what I fucking did. And guess what? I made a new fucking artwork out of it. Hey, it's a fucking cool effect. It's like, you know, it's a little bit groundbreaking. I mean, who would have fucking thought? You know, artists are so precious about their works, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta destroy something to make something new out of it and make it fucking art. Oh, for this whole project, I didn't use much pictures of myself, not because I'm shy about it or anything. It's because I have to keep going and printing it. Actually, the teachers did it for me, but I just wanted to use my art mainly because I didn't want to seem lazy. But if you do use printed pictures in your boards, it's actually fine. Like, it's actually encouraged, because you're supposed to take pictures for reference, and if you show the markers what you referenced, it shows that you pay attention to reality and detail. So you're supposed to do all of this prep work before the main board, but because of time constraints, you're doing them side by side. And the reason why you're doing color schemes is to show that you're experimenting with the use of color to see which one works best. And this is my favorite one, but it's something I would have never chosen to do because it's a lot. And I mean, it's colorful, but it doesn't actually represent the meaning of my work. Oh ho ho, now you know what my favorite boards are. Here comes the least favorite. Last and least. As you can see, I'm not very good at composition. There's not much to see here other than, wow, holy shit, the left one is shit, the middle one is okay, and the one on the right is a mess. Actually, the one on the right is from a test that we had to do. I don't know why they keep giving us tests while we're in our O-level year, but it's just to test our skill and how fast we can do it, I guess. So, if you want to know what grade I got all in all, paper 1 and paper 2, it's A2, which I know is really shitty. Nah, I'm joking. I'm actually satisfied with the grade I got. If you've ever seen what A1 graded artworks look like, I don't think I deserve that because they're on a different level. But I think for the amount of work and effort that I put in, it is pretty good. Would I have wanted an A1? Sure, but I'm proud of what I did get, and I think it's an appropriate mark. Next week, I'll be doing a separate video on my final artwork. So, if you want to know more about that and the process of how I completed my final artwork, which is the painting that you have to do that combines all the different themes and motifs and elements of your prep boards together, just stay and tune in. Sashay away.